Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. We've been talking over the past bit about self-identification. And it's time we look at some of the more, let's say, controversial results of that self-identification. Now, to get this out of the way, the Silverlight Show and all of its affiliates believe you have the right to determine for yourself what you wish to do and what you wish to be. If you decide that you are a space alien that has been sent to Earth to lead us into a new era of harmony and peace, God bless you, and please get to work. We need it. If you decide that you have 3 extra genders and you've tattooed the names of each one so that you can indicate it on your arm because by pointing to them, God bless you. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as it's adults consenting, Silverlight Show does not have a problem with that. And I'm not going to get into the quagmire of kids under 18-year-olds getting tattoos and piercings and ever. Kids do crazy stuff all the time, and tattoos are something we can focus on another day. Well, tattoos for those under 18. That being said, we've completely devalued tattoos, piercings, and body modification as anything of significance. Let's start off easy. Let's start off with tattoos. Probably whoever's listening to this show knows somebody with some ink on them. Now, Silverlight does not have ink for the very simple reason that Silverlight has enough scars on his body, he just doesn't feel like paying anybody to put more on him. That being said, over the years, I've seen some pretty impressive pieces that if I was in that body, I'd be sporting that art too. But not so long ago, even the late 70s to early 80s, tattoos were signs. They meant something, and they still do in parts of the world. It was a sign you'd been through something. The U.S. Marines and Navy have that anchor tattoo, mostly the Marines, and that shows that you have crossed the equator in one of your voyages. Heck yeah, that's a big deal. That's something to show off. You've been on such a long cruise, you've gone over half the bloody planet. Definitely worth it. Criminals, that little tear tattoo on their face shows they've killed somebody. But here we are in 2022 when there's so much ink, those symbols are meaningless. And you're out there with your script from another language, shall we say, and you're hoping it means what you think it does. You've devalued it. You go to a place like Japan or China or something, and those tattoos still have significant meaning. I mean, the Yakuza decorate their bodies with their victories and with their defeats. So when you're dealing with somebody and you're not sure about them, check their fingers, watch their back, because that'll tell you everything you need to know about them. North America, that's just Chad saying, oh yeah, well, I happen to like frogs, and so I had frogs tattooed on my shoulder, and yeah. Let's look at piercings. This is actually, my 9-year-old and I are watching Master Chef at the present time because we're enjoying the combinations people come up with. We've watched it before, but we're just enjoying seeing it again. And we watched this one beautiful, just a stunning woman come into the Master Chef kitchen wearing this gorgeous green dress and huge hoop earrings. And I said to the little one, I said, oh, what do you think is wrong with her here? Like she's a good cook. She's I forget what she was in education. She's a good brain. But what do you think is wrong here? And my 9-year-old looked at it and said, "There's something that doesn't seem right." And I said, "Yeah, look at that dress. Like, it was skin tight. It went down to the knees. She's not able to move very well. And those hoop earrings, God, like, if this woman was at my shoulder on a party, I would be proud as a peacock. But since they're on Master Chef and they're competing, those hook earrings can catch on anything." She didn't take them out. She left them in while she was cooking whatever it is. I don't remember. And this is a problem with piercings that most people don't realize. There's a practical consideration. Now, I'm not talking about your little studs or stuff like that. But a friend of mine got a nose piercing. And it was one of those, you know, typical ones that goes into the septum of your nose and comes around like a hoop. I remember she came in one day to class and she said, "Oh my God, it's freezing outside." And 5 minutes later, she's like, "My ring is still freezing." Well, yeah, it's minus 40 plus wind chill outside. This might have been a good day to take it out for a couple minutes and put it back in. Again, wonderful girl, intelligent as anything that you can imagine, gorgeous woman, but there's a practicality concern. And this is what people seem not to understand when it comes to tattoos and when it comes to earrings. Your body, your choice, but it should be something that can be hidden in the appropriate circumstances. You don't need your nose ring if you're going to be working around metal machinery. Your tattoo is going to offend some people, so have it somewhere that you can cover it up. And if you're one of those people that wants to go the whole 9 yards and invest in, facial modification surgery, tattoos, and some things that you can become, a reptile, a dragon, whatever it is you choose to do, I got no problem with that. But you got to start thinking, what are my life's options from this point? Am I individually rich enough to go the rest of my life without working? And that's not to say you're a bad employee. You might be one of the best. But appearance and images still do matter. And the thing that would concern me is, as a former employer myself, I just want to know that you're going to be safe doing the work. Now, if I have 4 people lined up, got a man, got a woman, got somebody on the spectrum in between, I got somebody who tried to surgically modify their body to be an alien that you can see through, I'm just worried that you're going to fall, hurt yourself, which can happen anywhere, anytime, smash one of your various implants, like that one where they put it in their lips so that you can see their teeth. No, I don't want anybody I don't want anybody to know if I brush my teeth or not this morning. Yes, most of the time I do, but it's just, don't want people to know that. Or when you're sick, you don't want people seeing that swirling around in there. It's your body, your choice, but the same token, you are choosing a life where you have become a slave to your attachments. It's not liberating. It's holding you back. And this is the truth most people don't realize. It's a self-inflicted wound. Silverlight Show is always tolerant. It's always going to try to find a way to bring everybody into the same human sphere. But when you're willingly mutilating your body, now again, this is not for the minor things. Again, a man getting a stud in his ear, that hasn't been a problem since, well, the 80s for sure, probably the 70s as well. A tattoo, if you're the right person and you have the right tattoo on you, hey, no problem. But I knew a guy named Keon. I only say that because you're never going to be able to track him down. And he had cherries tattooed on his cheek. And sometimes he would be proud as a peacock about them. And other times he'd come in wearing a bandage because he was ashamed of it. And he told me Keon was always kind of difficult to understand. And he basically said he regretted getting them and, he didn't want to be associated with that. Well, these things were not really noticeable, but he felt such conflicting emotions about them. If I had a magic wand, I would have wished them away for the poor fella. How you present yourself, unfortunately, is still a major a major perception filter for most people. If I was, say, my grandparents' generation, or even a lot of my parents' generation, I probably would perceive somebody with tattoos as possibly criminal, possibly in a biker gang, or something else I would choose not to be affiliated with. I'm not. I don't care. Most of my friends have tattoos. But most of them have them in such a way that you don't see them. But we're getting into another generation now where they want to have their entire arms, everything with hands, as everywhere they can, thinking it's art. Well, it's not art. It's not original. Piercings, you're not original. Someone's done it before and has probably done it better. As far as the body modification goes, God help us what's coming in the years to come. Because medical technology is getting better, and there's doctors out there willing to perform these surgeries, hopefully in sanitary conditions, hopefully fully, licensed and Hippocratic Oath registered doctors, but probably not all of them are. And the tattoo parlor person, not picking on them. They're making a living. They're artists. They pull off stuff every day, and it must probably one of the most stressful jobs, definitely behind wedding planner, definitely behind wedding photographer. But a tattoo artist has a difficult job because someone's going to come in and they're going to say, "Yeah, I want a horse jumping over coops of trees right as the sun sets in the background." Oh, jeez. And you prepare your sketch. Do you like this? Yeah. You prepare your sketch. Do you like this? And then the jerk turns around after you've tattooed them. Well, it's not exactly what I wanted. Get lost. I got sympathy for tattoo artists. I got sympathy for piercing places. And it used to be a rite of passage for people to go and get their first piercing. Mostly women. I remember that when the girls all suddenly started showing up with studs in their ears. And that's been taken away from them as well. We've lost milestones simply for the sake of people being able to say, "Hey, I want to feel special too." What's next? The Sweet 16? Boys going to start getting jealous because they don't get one? Quinceañera, whatever the heck it might be called in your local area? Geez, we have so many things in this world to get fulfillment. Go out, start a small business. It ain't hard. You can mow some lawns, you can deliver some papers. That's a sense of accomplishment. Write some posts on a blog. It ain't hard. It's something you can do. And I'll be honest, probably no one's going to read most of it anyway. But you can still say, "Hey, I've accomplished something. I have created X." Standing out from the crowd is not a good thing. I used to have an English teacher, and she used to have the classes. This is when I was young, and she had the classes categorized down. And she wouldn't tell anybody who was who, and she said, "I have a couple good categories." She said, "My number one category are the stinkies." And she said, "The funny thing about these girls," and she was specifically referring to girls, "is they douse themselves with perfume." And, this is in a class of 15 and 16-year-olds. She says, so bad you walk by their desk and it's, that smells like Teen Spirit stuff and it's horrible. But then you call them for an answer and they act like they've just been pushed on center stage at the Apollo and asked to recite Shakespeare. She said she doesn't get it. On the one hand, they're going out to try to get the attention, and on the other hand, they're trying not to get the attention. And old Mrs. Cole was 100% right. Now, you don't want these guys coming up, "Look at my tattoo, look at my piercings," or these women coming up, check out my ink on my arm. But the same token, they're the same ones that are willing to go on Facebook and say, "Look at my new ink." And yeah, when you know a little something about them, you're like, you need to afford groceries and not ink. But that's neither here nor there. Mrs. Cole, with her wisdom from the 80s, is still relevant in 2022. People want attention, but they don't want to be singled out for it. And this is why this whole culture is difficult to interpret for everybody. Let's leave aside the LGBTQ community, who are essentially invisible in our community. At one point, they had their markers, and those have been superseded by others trying to buy into the credit. Geeks at one point, nerd culture. At one point, we all had our Star Wars, Star Trek stuff, and we kept it quiet, and now everybody's trying to identify with it. And it's the same thing with these tattoo people and piercing people. They want to be noticed, but they don't want to be noticed. So, again, I have to say this a lot in this episode. The Silverlight Show does not condemn anybody to get a tattoo or a piercing or body modification. But at the same token, ask yourself, what do you really want it for? You just trying to get some ink because all of your friends have it? Are you trying to get a piercing because you want to bring attention to your ear? Or are you trying to make yourself look unique in a sea of people who are all doing the exact same thing? Again, Silverlight's body is all original parts, all original condition, no holes aside from the ones that I was born with, although lots of scars and crushes and bone damage and stuff like that. I figure that makes this body unique enough and should give the archaeologists something to argue about whenever they find me. But during this life, I don't really want to stand out that much. Not for what I look like. I want myself to stand up for my mind. And that's why I'm here on a show talking to you this point at night and saying, you know what? You already are special. If you want that stuff, great, go get it. But at the same token, understand why you want it. There is a tribal connection here. There's a First Nations component. There is a decorative component that is traditional to cultures, and you may be choosing to honor your ancestors. Again, no problem with that. But I would have to guess that's a pretty significant minority of people in general. Most people aren't sitting there and saying, my ancestors were Scottish, so I'm going to have blue tattooed on my face to honor the sacrifices that they made. No, they're going out and saying, yeah, I want this kanji character that looks really awesome. And that's not cultural appropriation, that's just what the person wants. But like I said, it's robbing us of cultural milestones. Again, that anchor tattoo, which means a lot to people who are in the know, no longer means anything. Heck, even the Nazis that I mentioned yesterday, they had their body littered in tattoos, and you're even devaluing them. Now, if there's anything we can agree on, we'd rather like to be able to capture racists and nail them before they start doing crazy stuff like dressing up as a goat and tunneling into people's basements. So think about what you're associating yourself with, is all I'm saying. Your cool dragon tattoo is probably a cool dragon tattoo. But just do the extra research and make sure that's something you want to be associated with. There are codes, there's subliminal codes all over the place. Kissing someone's hand, depending on the knuckle. There's a whole code there that means everything from I'm your friend to let's get married and spend the rest of our lives together. And of course, there's a whole idea of it's a whole culture. There's anything you get into, there is a significant backstory to it. And we're losing that by making it universal. Now, on the one hand, it's good because more people are participating in it, but then you get this idea of cultural appropriation. Now, which is it? Are we becoming an equalitarian society, or are we engaging in cultural appropriation? I'll leave that to you to figure out for now. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Buy the merchandise, and we hope you have a fantastic day.